everyone. Hi. Let me know if you guys can hear me and see me okay and all of that. I can see there's loads of you already in the chat window, all having like a nice little chat. I was just reading your comments as I was setting up, and it's so nice to see you all having like conversations together. That's really sweet. But hi, hello, how are you? How are you all doing? I can see that we already have Stacy, Aiden, Rishu, Foodie, yeah. Who else have we got in the chat? Sio Wu, hi Sio Wu. Hi Chan. Hi. Oh, I'm gonna try pronounce the same. I'm very sorry if I say it wrong, but Haya Young. I'm sorry if I've said that terribly. Unfem says hi. Hello, Unfem. And G also says hi. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the live stream. Hope you've all had a good week. Yeah, how was everyone's Easter if you celebrate it? I'm aware that a lot of my viewers are Korean and that it's not necessarily a huge celebration in Korea. I think we spoke about this a little bit on last week's live stream. But I've been talking to my students about Easter this week, and it turns out that loads of my students also hard boil eggs and then draw on them, which is something I thought was some like a rare tradition that my family did that maybe people don't do as much anymore. Turns out very popular in Korea. And also I heard I think Nick said last live stream that it was popular or used to be popular in Russia as well. So yeah, I hope you all had a good Easter regardless. I had a very lovely Easter. I mentioned it last lesson, but I went to my mum's house. We went in the garden, we had hot cross buns, we painted the eggs. But it was a really nice sunny day, so it was very enjoyable. And also, my sister borrowed her boyfriend's family's puppy, who was this tiny, tiny Yorkshire Terrier. She's only like 2 months old. So my sister brought the puppy round, so we got to play with the puppy, and it was so cute and definitely made the day even better than it already was. Donghan says hi. Hi, Donghan. But yeah, I hope you've all had a really good week. It's been, I'm trying to think of anything that's happened in the UK this week. Not much, I have to say, but I'm really looking forward to this weekend because it's going to be my birthday. So I'm going to meet up with some friends, have a picnic, and yeah, just really looking forward to it. Let me know how you guys have been in the chat box. Donghan asks, "How's the weather in Brighton?" Yes, it seems that we can't have a live English class and not ask about the weather, obviously. But the weather in Brighton is, let me look out my window. It's on the sunny side, which is good. It's definitely gotten a lot colder. I think maybe last week or the week before, there were loads of, there was a big heat wave. And it was relatively warm for the UK. It was like 17 degrees, but that seems to have dropped right back down again to like 8 degrees. So it's a little bit chilly. I can see in the chat window that before the live stream started, you guys were talking about the cherry blossoms in Korea. So yeah, they must be in bloom as everyone been going out to visit them. Over the Moon says cherry blossoms bloom was over in the blink of an eye here. Oh no! So has it finished? I think Aiden was mentioning how the cherry blossoms have been kind of blown away by some recent rain and wind. So I'm very sorry to hear that, you guys. But I also hear that today it's been quite hot and sunny in Korea. So I hope that you're enjoying like the spring weather. It's definitely, I'd rather be in Korea in terms of weather than the UK right now because it's still quite, it just loves to change its mind. Like it snowed earlier this week and then I didn't even notice it snowing because I wasn't looking out the window at that time, but it snowed really briefly and then it was sunny again. So it's that time of year in the UK where it can't seem to like make up its mind. So you end up wearing like a coat and then like a jumper and then just taking it off and having loads of layers, and it's a big pain in the bum. But yes. Okay, so, oh, and Aiden says, congrats birthday. Thank you, Aiden. All right, well, shall we get on with today's topic? I can see there's lots of people already in the live stream. You guys were all super on time today. Well done. So today's topic, we are going to be talking about British authors and especially British books as well. So I'm going to go through 3 of my favourite British authors and the books that I read by them that I really enjoyed. This is just my personal opinion. I know it says best in the title, but these are the best British books in my opinion. I'm sure lots of people will disagree with me, and I'm also sure that there's many, many, many amazing British authors and amazing British literature that I've not read yet. I'm actually a very slow reader. I don't know about you guys. Let me know in the chat box, like, what is your reading skill like? How do you find reading? Especially, how do you find reading in English? Does it help you learn English faster? Like, what's your kind of relationship with reading? For me, I'm a very slow reader. Don't know why. I guess it's just who I am. And I tend to read very slowly, and then I also love to like sit and think about what I read for quite a long time, which I think is quite is what makes it take me so long to get through books, is because I'll read like 5 pages and I'll just sit and think for like 5 minutes about what I've just read. That makes me very, very slow. But despite that, I absolutely love reading. I think that reading's super important. I actually find reading kind of meditative. I find it to be very good for my mental health. So I went through a really long phase when I lived in Hanoi, in Vietnam. Because I worked in the evening time, I had lots of time off in the mornings. So I used to get up in the mornings and like spend like an hour and a half reading, because I just had the time, which was very luxurious, because nowadays, or in general, very rare to have that much time on your hands, especially in the morning. And I found that reading in the morning just set me up so well for the rest of the day and improved my like happiness and well-being like loads. So I think that I think it's because it takes you out of your own head into someone else's world and into someone else's shoes. So it's really good for if you get like a little bit too up in you. I know I can get a little bit too in my head sometimes, so I find it really helpful for that. And I reckon it probably improves your empathy as well, because you're understanding new perspectives. So yeah, I love reading. Nick says, hello everybody. Hello Flora. Hello Nick. Welcome back. Sia Wu says, I love books. I'm usually hooked by a lot of books. Nice. And Aidan says, I'm really impressed by how passionate Stacey is about reading books. Yes, I could see in your chat before the live stream that Stacey is an avid reader. So Stacey, I'd love to hear more about what kind of books you enjoy. Without further ado, let's get started. So, just going to do the usual setup. So before we get into my personal favourite British books and British authors, I thought we could talk a little bit about what are the benefits of reading in terms of being a language learner. So for you guys as students, what benefits can reading books in English do for you? So here we go. First of all, the first benefit about reading a book in English is that fiction, especially fiction, so this is, I'm mainly talking about fiction books here, rather than non-fiction books, but they contain a lot of colloquial language. And now colloquial language is like everyday language, basically. So maybe like idioms and expressions that are very common for people to use, but they're not like, I don't know, maybe like technical vocabulary, like scientific vocabulary. But it's also the language that I think is hardest for learners to always access through textbooks and through usual like academy learning. So fiction and fictional books will contain lots of colloquial language, also from different time periods. So you can learn about what kind of words people used now compared to like maybe the 1950s, for example. And similar to dialogue as well. So like a similar pro or benefit comes with the dialogue in fiction. So you can learn lots of different idiolects, which is the ways people speak, because different characters will have different speech to reflect their characterization. Also, description will include lots of varied vocabulary that you might not find in everyday situations. So reading definitely helps to expand your vocabulary. And also, reading helps you begin to think in English. And the more you think in English, the better you'll speak in English, the more fluently you'll speak in English. Because when you're reading, you're kind of ingesting these colloquial words, you're ingesting these dialogues into your brain and you're saying them within your head. It will help you then begin to think in English yourself. And finally, just reading in general, so if you could be reading in any language, but it will help improve your focus and your concentration as well. So there are many benefits to reading. I think that's quite clear. So now let's move on to my personal 3 favourite authors and books. But first of all, Aiden's made a funny comment. Aiden says, wow, such a solid structure of Flora's TED Talk. Thank you, Aiden. Yes, there's a very structured presentation today. Beatrice says, hello, everyone. I enjoy audiobooks. Hello, Beatrice. Well. Oh, yeah, 2 things, actually, Beatrice, that reminds me. Thank you, before I move on. So if you guys enjoy audiobooks, or if you want to access readings in English, but maybe you're a bit nervous about your reading skills, or you just want a little bit of extra support before you start reading on your own, on our YouTube channel, on the Britcent YouTube channel, we do audiobooks of our different Britcent tutors reading out different stories. I think we've got The Little Prince is up there, The Wizard of Oz, the Sherlock Holmes one, which has been particularly popular. We've got some Yeats poetry, A Christmas Carol, loads more to come as well. So that's a great option because audiobooks you can hear. So one, you're also practicing your listening as well. And with our Britcent audiobooks, you can listen to the audiobook and there is a transcript on the screen as well. So you can listen and read, giving you extra support and also practicing, therefore, 2 language skills, listening and reading. So both the receptive skills in one go. How brilliant is that? So I would definitely recommend checking out our audiobooks. Thank you, Beatrice, for reminding me. And also another thing to kind of advertise is the Britcent have a blog. I don't know if you've seen any of our blog posts. They're advertised on our channel often. But there are several, I think there's like 4 or 5 blog posts specifically about how to make the most of reading in terms of being an English language student. So if you check the links in the description for this live stream, I've done a link to every single blog post and kind of what it's about. So there's one on how to choose a book, reading a book the first time, reading the book the second time, and many, I think a couple more as well. So definitely check those out if you're interested. Aidan says, Britcent is the right place where you listen to audiobooks if you like. Yes, thank you, Aidan. Very good. And Donghan says, about the expansion of vocab, I totally agree. Yeah, I think reading is just so good and so important. And Lim says, hello. Hello, Lim. Welcome back to the live stream. Okay, let's move on to my first recommendation today. So the first recommendation is a book called Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit by Jeanette Winterson, and it was written in 1985. So this is a semi-autobiographical, which means that it's based on the author's life. So it's not totally recounting exactly the author's life, but it's based on their real experiences. And it's a coming-of-age story about a young lesbian girl who grows up in a Pentecostal community. And the story is focusing on mostly the relationship between this young girl and her mother, which is a very torrid and tricky relationship. And it also looks into the relationship between homosexuality and religion. So a lot of really important themes and topics come up in this book. The main character is a young girl named Jeanette, so you can see how it's loosely based off the author's life. And she's adopted by evangelicists. Oh my goodness, my pronunciation. Evangelicists, there we go. From a Pentecostal church. And she's kind of set up and believes that her destiny in life is to become a missionary. And then as she grows up, she falls in love with a girl in her community, and it's kind of about what happens after that, especially when her mother finds out, and there's kind of a clash between the mother's religious beliefs and her daughter's sexuality. The reason why I like this book and I'm recommending it is because I just think Jeanette Winterson is a really, really good writer. I had to read this book actually as part of my A-level course, which is the exams you do when you're 16 to 18 in the UK, so to get into university. And this was part of my coursework for my English literature course. And I just really, really fell in love with this book and enjoy so much how Jeanette Winterson writes. She writes about very important subjects that could be very weighty. So very like depressing almost, I suppose. But she does it with a lot of wit and levity. And I think that that's something that I really enjoy. Maybe you noticed in the films live stream that we did that like books, films, any kind of storytelling, I really love it when it's dealing with important subjects that could be quite difficult to talk about, but handling it with a kind of sense of humour as well and kind of wit about it. So I think that Jeanette Winterson does that really well. I also think it's a really interesting perspective to hear about. I think that young lesbian women aren't always very well represented in media. Usually they're like, even if it's well-meaning, usually lesbian characters can just be like the side character, like the gay best friend, not the main character of their story. So I think that this book is really important and a great way to learn about a different perspective. And also, I think the main thing about this book that I love is that it captures the kind of dynamics of a difficult mother-daughter relationship, which I don't think is always explored very often either. And I just found that really interesting to read about. So yeah, that is my first recommendation. Siowu says, is this book made into a movie? I am not sure. I have no idea. Aidan says, I think it's adapted in the 1990s. So perhaps it is. So I'm not sure about the movie, but maybe you guys could check that out as well. And also saying hello to Huan Kwan, sorry about my pronunciation, who said, sorry I came into the lesson a bit late. No worries. Always welcome, no matter what time you come into the lesson. Okay, so the next one is The Picture of Dorian Gray. So this is the only book ever by Oscar Wilde, and it was written in 1890. So I'm sure most of you have probably heard of Oscar Wilde, and he is probably one of the most famous authors in the UK. And he has an incredibly heartbreaking and important story. So he was he was a really successful writer in Victorian England. He used to mainly write poetry plays. He wrote The Importance of Being Earnest. And he was also a journalist. So he wrote in periodicals at the time. And I think the thing he's most famous for is, one, his wit. His writing is extremely funny. But also for his personal life, because Oscar Wilde was a very successful gay man who was actually sent to prison for being gay once that was revealed to the public, which was very, very tragic, of course. So he kind of reached like the height of his success, and then people discovered that he was gay, and then he was sent to prison and kind of fell from grace because of that, which is obviously awful. But yeah, I think he's definitely like a British hero in my eyes. But yes, so The Picture of Dorian Gray is Oscar Wilde's only novel, which I think is such a shame because I enjoyed it so much and I wish that he wrote more novels for me to read. But it is about Dorian Gray, who is a very handsome young socialite in Victorian England. And the novel begins with his portrait being painted by his artist friend Basil Hallward, who is like obsessed with Dorian and his beauty and like his youth. And at that portrait sitting, Gray meets Basil's friend, Lord Henry Wotton, who is this like hedonistic, indulgent aristocrat who then kind of lures Gray in with his hedonistic worldview and kind of very dodgy morals. And the book is kind of looking at questioning kind of beauty and public morality. So in the novel, there is a mystical twist as Dorian's desires to hold onto his beauty and youth forever and not be corrupted by kind of the immoral actions that he's doing. But I won't say any more than that because I don't want to give away any spoilers. But the reason I love this book, as I said moments ago, is that it's quite like a philosophical work and it takes a look at lots of different topics that I'm personally very interested in, like the nature of art, hedonism, beauty, and public morality. And as I said earlier, Oscar Wilde is so witty, so it's kind of, you can see how he was like poking fun at Victorian ideals at the time, Victorian ideals of like behaviour and also attitudes towards art and things like that. So it's actually like surprisingly accessible, which is also something I love about it. So even though this book was written in 1890, the language doesn't get in the way too much. It's definitely a read for more advanced learners, I'd have to say, because of the language. So maybe an audiobook would be more appropriate for most students. But despite the fact it was written such a long time ago, like the characters are still really recognizable. The humor is still really easy to access and is really funny. And I just think it's one of the best books I've ever read. So yeah, I definitely would recommend. And it's definitely also a movie for sure. So if you would prefer to opt for the movie, then that is also definitely an option. Nick says about reading, well, I have realised that reading helps you to improve your vocabulary. The problem is it's too difficult to read original articles or books because of the immensely amount of unfamiliar words. That's a great point, Nick, and I'm glad that you brought that up because I'm not sure if you were in the live stream when I mentioned this or not. I think you were. But one of the blog posts down in the description box below is actually about how to overcome this problem. And the way to overcome this problem is essentially reading multiple times. So the first time you read your book, you want to just read it in general and not worry about every single word that you don't understand. So you're reading for context. And then once you've read for context and you've got kind of the general idea of what's going on, go back and read again, but this time pay attention to the specific vocabulary you don't understand. Look it up, write it down in like a journal, maybe to keep track of new vocabulary. And this is how you can utilize your reading for improving your English. And there's way more to it than that, but all the details of how to do this kind of technique are in the links below. So it'll be reading your book for the first time, reading your book for the second time are the two articles that I would check out down below. It does make reading less relaxing than it usually would be, but if you're using reading for studying purposes, that's kind of the best way to go about it. Aidan says, how can we hold on to youth and beauty forever? That's the question. Well, find out by reading The Picture of Dorian Gray. That's what I would say. And Stacey says, I like Jane Eyre, written by Charlotte Bronte. That's a very advanced bit of English literature. I think if you like Jane Eyre, you'd enjoy this, Stacey, because it's like similar kind of vocabulary. Donghan says, I wonder if there's a kind of list of books that students or young people should read. 100% there will be on the internet. Give it a Google. But also, I'm wondering if maybe that's actually a really good idea for something Britcent could do. So I'll try and remember that and talk about it with my colleagues, that maybe it would be good if Britcent tutors came out with our own reading list of books that are good for our students to read. If you check out our audiobooks, they're usually ones that we think will be good for students. For example, Aesop's Fables are good because they're also short, which is nice. And I think they're quite a good level. I think for students learning English, also books that are aimed at more young adults can be quite good. So Harry Potter definitely would be really good. There's loads of vocabulary in Harry Potter because I know that J.K. Rowling's quite descriptive and likes to use lots of different fun words, especially lots of adverbs. So that's a good one to check out. Even like Twilight is a good one, or what's it called? Katniss Everdeen, that one. Hunger Games, there we go. Hunger Games as well. These kind of young adult fantasy literature can be very captivating, and I think the language can be a little bit of a better level if you're just starting to read in English. So yeah, maybe wait a bit before moving on to Oscar Wilde. All right, my final recommendation is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, written in 1932. So again, quite an advanced piece, maybe for more advanced learners, because I actually recently did this with a student. So we read this book together, and there was some very specific vocabulary that was quite hard to understand because of the time it was written in, 1932. So similar with Oscar Wilde, the vocabulary will be a bit dated. But also because this is a dystopian, futuristic novel. So some of the language is very scientific, but it's still one of my favourite novels of all time. So Aldous Huxley is a famous English writer. He used to write philosophical novels, and his most famous one being Brave New World, which, as I just said, is a dystopian science fiction novel about kind of the future of Western culture. So it's set in a futuristic world state where the citizens are environmentally engineered into an intelligence-based hierarchy. So they have different names. The top level of the hierarchy is alpha, and it's like beta, delta. I don't know the proper order, but at each level, each human being is socialized and engineered to have different intelligence levels. Alpha or alpha plus being the most intelligent, and then the gamma, I think, is the name of the least intelligent social class. The citizens are kind of encouraged to take on, well, it depends on your level actually. Basically, the citizens are encouraged to follow one type of lifestyle that is based on their social class. So the idea is that Huxley was trying to he was kind of inspired by Ford's assembly line in a factory, and how each worker has a specific function that they just do on repeat, and kind of taking that but making it bigger and making it apply to society at large. So each social class has a particular function, and they don't do anything outside of their function. They just do, it's kind of like penned into like a very specific social role, very boxed in. And the higher class citizens, the alphas, are encouraged to take on quite a hedonistic lifestyle. They're very concerned with material satisfaction. They're encouraged to have lots of different relationships with lots of different people, which would have been shocking in 1932. Love is kind of not really a thing in this futuristic dystopian world. And they also take a lot of a drug called soma, which is kind of seems like similar to like heroin almost. It's like a depressant that just makes them feel very happy. So any sad feeling or any unpleasant feeling, they try and squash it down rather than experience it. So it's quite hedonistic in that way. And the regime has conditioned all of its subjects, and it's challenged only by one individual, which is the story's protagonist, who is a part of a social class, but he kind of is a bit of a black sheep, an outsider, which leads to him challenging the system. I put this book because I'm a really big fan of dystopian novels, and I think the British authors have produced very good dystopian literature. I'm sure you're all familiar with George Orwell and 1984. That's a really famous one that I also really enjoy. And I just love when a writer takes elements of modern society and kind of runs with it to the extreme and sees what will happen. So it's kind of like peeking into the future of what could possibly happen if we keep going in this direction. And I think that Brave New World actually is one of the dystopian novels that has really captured something very true about our society now. And considering it was written in 1932, it just boggles my mind how Huxley kind of almost is like predicting the future and could see where we would be with kind of the extreme capitalist society that we're living in. And I just think that he must have been an incredibly clever man, and the fact that Brave New World is still seems really scarily relevant to modern society is something I really enjoy about this book. Aidan says, the blog titled Read Again and Again says that's when you really know and feel that all the hard work has paid off. Yes, so this is in terms of reading for learning English. So if you read your novel several times, eventually it will become much more like natural, and that's when you know that your hard work is paying off. And Kuan says, I agree. I found that because it is written by an author, usually I found that there are certain vocabs and patterns that are used quite often, so they are very helpful. Good, yeah. And Nick says, you have predicted my question. Thanks for your advice. I very much appreciate it. You're very welcome, Nick. No worries. And Aidan says, at Donghan, who wanted like a reading list, if you want to look for the list of books for either students or young adults, you can visit any university websites in any English-speaking countries, which I strongly believe would help you find the right books. That's a really good tip, Aidan. Thank you. Yeah, so for those of you who want like a reading list, definitely just try Googling it or checking out university websites. I think that's a really good idea from Aidan. And Claire says, can I ask what poems are popular in the UK? Ooh, that's a big question. It depends on the person. I'm not sure I can answer that question. I know there are some famous poets in the UK, but I don't know what particular poems many people like. But some famous UK poets to look up would be Benjamin Zephaniah. He's really good. Oh, there's another guy who was poet laureate, but I've forgotten his name. I used to have to study him a lot in school. How annoying. Carol Ann Duffy's quite a famous British poet, but I'm not a big fan of her stuff personally, but she was the poet laureate in England. And off the top of my head, I can't think of many more. I'm not massively into modern British poetry. But yeah, definitely check out Benjamin Zephaniah and Carol Ann Duffy. Aidan says, Flora, do you happen to have another British book that was recently released to recommend to us to read? I'm not sure. I'm looking around my room. Well, I have this book, which I haven't finished because I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but you guys might enjoy it, and I think that it's quite accessible. So let me just make my screen big, actually, before I show you it. So this book is written by an Irish author, and it was released last year, and it is called Exciting Times by Nisha Dolan. And I actually think you guys will probably really enjoy this. It is about a young Irish girl who moves to Hong Kong to teach English as a foreign language. So you can see why I bought this book. It's very relatable for me. But yeah, it's about her relationship with a man in like English man in banking. And kind of it looks at like relationship dynamics when one person has a lot higher status and earns a lot more money than the other person, and the main character is quite funny as well. So I recommend that book. I think that would be a really good level for anyone who's learning English, as well as the vocabulary will be a bit more modern and accessible. Good. Okay, so I guess now it's time to do vocabulary. I want to make sure we've got enough time for the mini quiz today because I think you guys will really enjoy it. So, first up, the first bit of vocabulary today, book-related vocabulary. And can you guess what this means in the comments? So, it is a page turner. So, what do we think page turner means? It's an adjective. Used in an example sentence, it could be, her latest novel is a real page turner. Any guesses? Quickly, Over the Moon has asked, do you think that the books that you recommended us today are difficult to read for me, of course, in English? I do think I may have recommended quite difficult books in hindsight. So I think what I might do is on the comment for this live stream next week, I'm going to put together a little reading list and I'm going to put that in the pinned comment for you guys to look at. Some books that are more accessible. I just wanted to talk about some British authors that I found really inspiring, the ones I personally enjoyed. For the ones I recommended, I would suggest that they would be good audiobooks for you guys to listen to. But yes, as I said, I think I'm going to put together a reading list that's a bit more accessible and has different levels as well. And I'm going to put that in the comments for this live stream, but I will probably do that next week. Yes, so keep an eye out on this video for a comprehensive reading list. But yes, so page turner, what does it mean? So Beatrice says you don't want to stop reading. Good. Sky says, oh, hello, Sky. Sky says an intriguing book. Sia Wu says an interesting book. Yes, you guys have pretty much all got it. So a page turner is an exciting book that you can't put down. You just keep turning those pages. So good, well done, good guesses. Al-Zahar says, I was thinking about reading books that were written in recent years in which authors use common daily language and idioms. So I can pick some phrases that can help me in daily conversations. That's a really good idea. And I would recommend Exciting Times, the book I just mentioned. I think that would be very useful for that. Good, okay. And Kwan says, I think the books I know are at a primary level because I teach primary students in international school, Roald Dahl books. Well, I think that those definitely are aimed at children, but Roald Dahl is a classic British author and his books are really, really good and I loved them growing up. So I think that they're actually really good books to read and will have a lot of colloquial words and idioms in them. So definitely Roald Dahl is a good idea for English learners to use. Okay, the next phrase is an idiom and it is to have your nose in a book. So I think this one's kind of self-explanatory, but what do you think this idiom means? To have your nose in a book. What does that mean? If I said, she's always got her nose in a book, what do you think I'm saying about her? Kwan says, keep reading. Good. Any other guesses? Sky says, to read intently. Good. Nice. Excellent. Good. Yeah, you guys got it. So it's to read intently, to, as Dong Han says, to be a bookworm. Yeah, so it's to be always have your head in a book, always to be reading very very engrossed in the novel. Beatrice has a very good suggestion before I move on to the final vocabulary, which is Normal People. So Normal People was a TV series in the UK that was very popular, and it's based on a very recent book series, so that would probably be a good one for you guys to check out. Okay, final bit of vocab before we move on to the mini quiz, which is another idiom: to read between the lines. So, what do you guys think this idiom means? To read between the lines. Any guesses? Sky says that she's read Normal People by Sally Rooney. Very good. What do you think about it, Sky? Aidan says to figure out the context. Sky says to catch the underlying meaning. Kwan says to make an inference. Good vocabulary there. Over the Moon says read subtle meaning. Good, yeah. Well done. Excellent. Good, excellent. So you guys were all correct. It's to look for implied meaning that's not explicitly said. So you can use this in many situations, not just about reading a book, also in like social situations. But an example sentence could be, to figure out the ending, you really need to read between the lines. Okay, well done. All right, excellent. So, are we ready for today's mini quiz? Sodom Kim has said a very kind comment. They said, OMG, it's so good to finally see your face. I'm such a fan of all your podcasts. Thanks so much for your work. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Sodom. I appreciate that very much. And Stacey says, I'm reading the British novel The Music Shop, written by Rachel Joyce. I recommend that book if you're huge fans of pop music, and it was published in 2013. Good recommendation, Stacey. I've not heard of that, but I want to write it down. Music Shop. Just going to write it down right now, because I will put that on our reading list. Maybe we could make like a group reading list. That could be quite fun. Maybe we could do a book club. That could be very fun. Let me know if you guys want to do a book club where we could all read a short story and then talk about it in the next live stream. That could be very fun. Don't know how exactly I'd organise it, but I'm going to put that as an option in the poll and then see if it's possible. Okay, Beatrice says mini quiz. Woohoo. And Aidan says, I missed the time we didn't do it last week. I know, I'm sorry, Aidan. So let's get on with it, shall we? This week's mini quiz. So the aim of this week's mini quiz is you have got to guess the famous book title from the pictures that I've given you. I'm sure this is quite a common like quiz question theme. So the first one, what do we think this book is? So what is in the first picture? What is in the second picture? Look at the man's hat. And where is the second picture? Beatrice says, I want to do a book club, but I need more than a week to read a book. Well, Beatrice, what I'm thinking is we could do a short story. So like maybe like Aesop's Fable, which is only like 1 page. And then we can read that together and then talk about it in the next lesson. So it wouldn't be very long. So it's like a mini book quiz. A couple people have fallen for it. So it's Harry Potter, people saying. Who's in Harry Potter? What characters are in Harry Potter? I remember, so this next picture is Sydney. And what country is Sydney in? So what kinds of people are in Harry Potter, and what country is Sydney? So I don't know whether to give you guys any more clues. I feel like I started off with a hard one. So he's not a witch. He's a... Yes, okay, good. People are guessing Australia. And he's not... The man isn't a witch. He's a... What's a male witch? If anyone gets this, I'll be so happy. Okay, Sky says, I have no idea about the characters in Harry Potter. Okay, how can I clue this in even more? Or should I just tell you it? Okay, let me know in the comments if you want me to just tell you it. Okay, Beatrice got it. Juan got it. Wizard. So Wizard Australia. What very famous book could it be? Wizard Australia. Okay, I'm going to give you 10 more seconds before I reveal. So, I'm going to reveal the answer so we can move on to the next one. But the answer is Wizard of Oz. That very famous novel. Okay, let's move on to number 2. Okay, what is this one? This one should be a little bit easier to guess. So what's in these 3 pictures? People are going, about the last one. So what is in these 3 pictures? Any guesses? I think there might be a slight delay on the live chat, so I don't know if it's going to be a lot of answers come through in one go. But yeah, what do you guys think this is? Hey, Beatrice got it. Nick got it as well. Anyone else before I reveal the answer? Yeah, Donghan got it. Alza here got it. Nice, well done everyone. So it is The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe, or also Narnia. Well done Julie as well. Julie got it. And Stacey also got it as well. Good job guys, well done. Okay, next one. So I don't know how well known, oh, I moved on too quick. I don't know how well known this book is. So I'm not sure if you guys will get it or not, but it's a very famous British book. So what is in the... is literally pretty much what's in these pictures. So what's in the first picture, what's in the second picture? Quan says, not easy, lol. No, it's not easy. I've made this quite a hard mini quiz. I tend to make the mini quizzes way too easy or way too hard. It's very difficult to reach a perfect medium. Chan says, clock orange, which is very close to the original meaning. Aiden's got it. Well done. Sky's really close. Anyone else apart from Aiden? Beatrice has almost got it. It's just you just need to swap the words around. Stacey's got it. So it is A Clockwork Orange, which is a very famous British book and a film as well. Okay, well done Julie as well, who got it. Okay, next one. So this one, again, the middle picture is going to be a bit confusing, but each word is very literal. So think about what is in the pictures. And a clue is that, oh, this isn't a British book. So not all these books are British, by the way. This isn't by a British author, but it was a very famous TV series recently as well. A famous American TV series. So just looking at what's literally in the pictures will give you a clue. Quan says, these visuals will defo help me remember the book titles. Good, I'm glad. That's excellent. Maybe you can look them up and give them a go. So Chan says, hand something tail. Yes, So the middle one I know is a bit confusing. I couldn't find a very good picture for it. I might zoom in actually. Oh, I can't zoom in. That's helpful. Sorry guys, I can't zoom in. But yay, Julie got it. Well done. So yeah, think about what's in the pictures. Before I reveal the answer, I'll see if anyone else can get it. Kwan says finger, hoover, tail. You've got one of the words right. Anyone else? Just Julie? Well done, Julie, by the way. Excellent. You're really good at this game. So the answer is The Handmaid's Tale. So yeah, that's a hand. The middle picture is a maid. It's like a cleaning thing from a hotel. I couldn't find anything better. And then that's a tail. Good. Well done, Aiden, as well. But yeah, very good. Well done to Julie. Okay, last one. This one's quite tricky as well. They're all tricky. So think about it. The sound in the middle is meant to help you. So think about what's in the first one. What kind of oil is it? So this is our final question of today's mini quiz. Who's going to get it first? Will it be Julie? Ah, it was Nick. Well done, Nick. Nick's got it. Donghan says, how do you guys know this? I think that you have to have like a certain kind of brain to figure these questions out. I'm terrible at these in quizzes. I think some people have that kind of brain that can make connections between things very quickly. Julie got it. Well done. Donghan also got it. Kwan got it. Wow, well done, guys. Excellent. So Stacey got it. Good job. Okay, so the answer for this one was Oliver Twist. Olive Twist. Okay, good job, guys. Well done. I hope you enjoyed that mini quiz. That was the last question. Okay, so that is the end of today's live stream. Really good job to everyone in that last mini quiz because it was very tricky. Yeah, nice. So yeah, that's everything. I hope you guys had a good time. Thank you for joining me as per usual. I hope you all have a good weekend, and as per usual, I'm going to be putting a poll in the community page on our YouTube channel where I'll put the different topics that you can choose from and vote for next week. And in there, I'm going to put the option of a book club. Maybe we'll do that next time. Maybe that's something to figure out for the future, but that could be something that's quite exciting. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. Beatrice says, thank you. Have a lovely weekend. Thank you, Beatrice. Juan says, thank you very much. Thank you, Juan. Thank you. Goodbye to Julia, Sky, and Sia Wu, Stacey, Nick. Just thank you everyone that comes back and also leaves comments on the chat window. I really appreciate it and love interacting with you all. So yeah, have a lovely weekend. Donghan says, thank you. Take care. Bye, Donghan. Sia Wu says, thank you. Sky says, happy birthday. Thank you, Sky. And Chan says, thanks so much. All right. Well, thank you guys. Have a lovely week and weekend, and I'll see you next Friday. All right. See you. Bye.